What is up, folks, and welcome back to Bay City Diecast Racing. We hope you had an amazing holiday, and thank you for joining us, because the time has come to crown ourselves a champion. First up, special thanks once again to our friends at Polo Racing and Gravity Throttle Racing, as well as our sponsor, Rust Belt Customs. This is the 8-lap Ultimate EVO's Tournament Finals at Bay City. Let's quickly remind you of our finalists. From Flips Racing, it's Flip Gambino. From Blue Line Racing, this is Champagne Poppy. From Gravity Throttle Racing, it's Speedball Herman. And driving for Puffs Racing, this is Puff. And here we go, folks. The long-awaited finals of the Ultimate EVO's tournament. Flip Gambino on the pole next to Champagne Poppy. Speedball Herman and Puff in the rear. And there they go. Gambino with an early lead out of the divide at 90 and into wine country. But here comes Poppy on the crossover, and he takes the lead onto the Golden State Bridge and up the hill towards Coit. Across the Bay City Bridge, Champagne Poppy by 2 car lengths in front of Gambino. Into downtown across the Bixby. Champagne Poppy setting the tone early with a lap 1 victory. Flip Gambino across for second, and Puff and Speedball Herman will close us out. Poppy across with an average time for him of 8.35, but he means business tonight, folks. Flip Gambino, our pole sitter, because he had the fastest time in our Bay City time trials, but that didn't seem to bother Champagne Poppy much as he snatched the lead away before the bridge. Blue Line managing to keep it in the lane up the hill, and all Gambino can do is hope for a mistake. Meanwhile, Puff and Herman already traded paint at the merge and continue to do it all the way around the palace. We'll keep an eye on those two for the next 7 laps. Back up top lap 2, Poppy to the pole, Puff joins him up front. Flip Gambino drops back a spot next to Speedball Herman. And with Poppy on the pole, expect a run at another great track time. And here we go! Champagne Poppy with the lead into the vineyards, and Gambino right there with him into the crossover. Both accelerating down to the bridge for the run at the hill. Across the Bay City Bridge, he is flying, folks. Around the palace and into downtown. Flip through downtown. Puff motors through, and Speedball Herman in reverse climbs up on the rail, and that'll do it for him as Puff across the line for third. We lost track of our leaders here as... Wait a second. Did that timer say what I think it said? Holy shit, it did. But first, let's check on Speedball Herman here, and apparently he doesn't get to Bay City enough and wanted to check out the sights. Can't say I blame you, buddy. But still, 6 laps to go. Stay with us. But folks, what we just saw was a time of 8.14, and yet another new track record at Bay City for Champagne Poppy and Blue Line Racing. Congratulations, sir. Let's take another look here at that record-breaking run. And the first hurdle Poppy had to clear were the whoop-de-doos. He doesn't always stay in his lane. Next was keeping it straight over the bridge and clear the second hurdle, the drop down. But his real nemesis on this track is the S's through downtown, which he obviously traversed just fine this time to a tune of 8.14. Damn. Lap 3, and as great as Champagne Poppy is looking, it's still only a 2-point lead, folks. Puff with his turn on the pole next to Speedball Herman. Our early leaders Flip and Champagne Poppy in the rear. Gate drops were racing. Here we go with Puff leading us out early. Poppy and Speedball door-to-door on the Golden State Bridge. Still packed tight up the hill and around the tower. Champagne Poppy in hot pursuit of Puff, doing all he can, and he goes over. Poppy is pushing him. Here comes Herman and Gambino right on by it. Across the Bixby, and Speedball Herman will hold off Flip Gambino at the end to capture lap 3. Herman with a lap time of 9.08, and what a tough break for Poppy and Puff here. Puff especially, as he had that thing jamming, and in all likelihood would have held off Blue Line. Lap 3s are always exciting for me, because it usually puts the quicker cars in the back and results in a little more action and overtakes. And this lap 3 was no different. Champagne Poppy putting the heat on Puff from the gate drop, and Flip doing much of the same back there with Herman. But Puff, driving with his hair on fire, chose to just get out of the kitchen and turtles in front of the painted ladies. Grabs Poppy and allows Herman and Gambino that outside line right to the finish. Lap 4, and with that DNF by Champagne Poppy, Gambino vaults into the lead and will start this lap on the outside front row next to Speedball Herman. And lap 4 is underway. All square out of the 90, and Gambino up and off the track and into the vineyards. Grapes are everywhere. Poppy onto the railing, but corrects himself and stays in the lead. Down the hill across the Bay City Bridge and towards the ladies. Blue Line Racing all by himself. Herman holding on to the second place spot, but with the early departure of Gambino, Champagne Poppy will take lap 4 easily. Herman across for second, Puff limps across for third. Champagne Poppy across with a lap time of 8.36, and after that DNF last lap, I bet he's happy to see Gambino suffer the same fate. As we take a look at Flip, just barely hanging on there in between those vines. The first and only crash we've had up here, folks. Let's see if he can come back from this crushing defeat. Give me some grapes while you're up there, buddy. Let's take another look at this epic crash from Gambino here through the zigzags and just up and out of his lane there over Poppy and Herman and plunging towards certain death. Good thing the vines caught him or it would have been a whole thing. All the grapes would have started rolling down the hill like tumbleweeds. Bay City's wine supply is threatened. The mayor has to declare a wine emergency. Flip emerges from the wreckage and uses his mangled door as a makeshift wine barrel to collect all the escaping grapes. Now he's Bay City's wine savior. We have to erect a statue and celebrate him at the annual Gambino Grape Fest. I'd go to that. All right, folks, the drivers have made a complete rotation and we'll start our second go-around with Gambino on the pole next to Champagne Poppy. Speedball Herman and Puff in the rear, absolutely within striking distance. Here we go, gate drops for lap 5, and as expected, Flip and Poppy are leaders through wine country and on to the Golden State Bridge. Blue Line with a car length, and he's on the rail again. Gambino goes by. Puff into the back of him gets him going again. Across the Bay City Bridge, Flip off to a huge lead now. Champagne Poppy trying to reel him in, but it'll be too little too late as Flip Gambino will capture lap 5 with a track time of 8.74. Blue Line racing in for second, Puff and Herman for third and fourth respectively. And speaking of, a respectful sub-9 track time for Gambino here as we take a look at the replay. Another example here of Flip holding his own, less than a car length behind Poppy, just waiting for a mistake, and this lap he got one. Poppy up on the railing again, and Gambino takes advantage. And in the battle for third, it looks like Herman may have grabbed it at the merge, but here's Puff in that position now. And all four castings will come across quite spread out for a less than stellar lap 5, but Flip is not complaining. Back up top, lap 6, Poppy with that 2-point lead will take his second turn on the pole next to Puff. Gambino drops back a spot next to Speedball Herman. Anyone can still win this championship, folks. Gate drops, there they go. Champagne Poppy like a bullet out of the spool heads dual 90 and wastes no time leading us to the crossover. Gambino a distant second and Puff hanging in. Champagne Poppy with an enormous lead now, hogging all the camera time as our wide view here will help us get a little more of the action. Flip spins around in front of the big speed, but it won't cost him as he'll come across in reverse for second place. Puff a close third, and Speedball Herman will close us out for lap 6. Champagne Poppy will cross with a lap time of 8.40, will continue to expand that lead. And with just 2 laps remaining, he has really put a stranglehold on this championship. All right, lap 7, and we all know what that means. Puff and Speedball Herman in the front row, and our leaders in the rear. Gambino needing a great finish here to keep pressure on Blue Line, and although our front row is mathematically eliminated, you know there's bragging rights at stake here. And here we go. Puff, wasting no time with that inside lane advantage, grabs a car length lead, but as Diecast Street League says, he has no air to breathe. Champagne Poppy continues to urge him forward. Remember what happened last time, folks? But look at Puff here opening up a lead on Blue Line. Way into downtown. A little reminder bump from Poppy, but Puff's Racing will take a much-needed victory here in lap 7. Champagne Poppy mails one in for second, and Speedball Herman, in reverse it looked like, will hold on to third. And it makes you wonder if Gambino took that race off or what. And again, we see all 4 drivers at the top of the hill until the leaders separate themselves. And folks, a quick reminder / apology is sometimes these stationary cameras tend to do whatever they want at times, at least mine do, and that can lead to randomly shutting off for races at a time. But trust me folks, if I had the footage, I'd show it to you. And folks, spoiler alert, Champagne Poppy with Blue Line Racing has officially become the Ultimate EVO's tournament champion. Speedball Herman on the pole for our final lap, and it is underway. Back tight out of the 90, Herman holding on for dear life, but Flip sees the on-ramp and there they go. One last time up Coy Hill, Poppy not letting up and Puff snug on Herman. Gambino with a 5-car lead headed toward the Painted Ladies and around the Palace. Poppy gets loose in the S's. And that is all the space Gambino will need to take our 8th and final lap here tonight, folks. Champagne Poppy in cruise control across for 2nd. And here comes Speedball Herman in 3rd, but only 1 spot in front of Puff, and will not be enough to catapult him to the podium. And a nice little thank you from Puff there as we take a look at our final replay. This will give me a little time to thank all of those involved in this tournament, from the first stage at Polo Racing, then off to stage 2 at Gravity Throttle Racing, and finally culminating here at Bay City. Thanks to Spoolheads for this amazing track, as well as Rust Belt Customs for pretty much everything else. And here's our final scores. Champagne Poppy, your champion, with 25 points. Flip Gambino 4 back. And Puff narrowly defeats Speedball Herman by a single point. Give it up for these drivers, folks. These cars traveled thousands of miles to get here and competed on 3 entirely different tracks and gave us all an incredible show. Thank you again to our 4th place finisher, Speedball Herman from Gravity Throttle Racing. And in 3rd place was Puff from Puffs Racing. Thank you, sir. And in 2nd place from Flips Racing, Flip Gambino. And thank you to all the drivers involved. And one more hearty congratulations to Champagne Poppy and Blue Line Racing, your Ultimate EVO's tournament champion. What the? Oh boy.
What's up, everyone? Arlo here. To those who've been patiently waiting, did you think Daryl was going to dynasty a Dodge you? Well, now these cheater cars are done, back to the real racing. The top 3 Turvey returns soon. Do you think you have what it takes to make the top 3? If so, I'll be seeing you soon on the track.
Well, you heard the man, folks. Stay tuned for the return of the top 3 Turvey. If you're new to the channel, be sure to go back and check it out from the beginning. Link in description. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a presentation of Bay City Diecast Racing. My name is Daryl, and I've been your host. Have a good night, everybody.